Here are the answers to your various questions about swallows. What are the characteristics of a swallow? The feathers on its back and tail have a characteristic steel blue color with iridescent reflections. Its belly is pale brown or rust. Its throat and forehead are brown. Its long forked tail and pointed wings also make identification easy. What does the swallow eat? For them, the seeds and fruits of wild plants, apples and pears from our orchards, small insects from the soil and wood, earthworms and snails, remain the best source supply, even in winter. They can also feed their baby birds and drink water while flying. During torrential rains or other bad weather, barn swallows may eat small fruits, seeds, insects found on plants or other surfaces, or dead insects. What is special about the swallow? The swallow has a tapered body profile accentuated by sickle-shaped wings, as well as a forked tail. The latter is accompanied by fillets, often white. Their length constitutes an indicator of differentiation between male and female, which, for her, is shorter. Why do swallows always return to the same place? No, on the contrary, swallows, as you know, are faithful to their breeding site and return year after year to nest in the same place. So it's a great service that you're providing, leaving intact the nests they built in previous years. Where do swallows go at night? They spend the night in reed beds, flying above for a while before descending into the reeds. Reed beds are an important source of food for swallows before and during migration. Where do the swallows go during the day? They then leave in loose groups over a broad front, covering 200 to 300 kilometers per day. They move at a speed of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, often less than 100 meters from the ground. They invented in-flight refueling since they continue their migratory movements while swallowing insects in flight. How long does a swallow live? The maximum known longevity is 14 years. The swallow is strictly insectivorous. It feeds mainly on aerial insects, in particular Diptera, which it captures in flight. What is the behavior of the swallow? This is an anthropophilic species. It does not fear humans and lives in their proximity. As a gregarious species, it can form large groups, especially during antenuptial. Why do swallows abandon their nests? Barn swallows generally remain faithful to their nesting sites, but they can abandon them for different reasons: disturbance, destruction of nests, development of the building, environmental degradation, predation, etc. Why do swallows call in flight? The house swallow emits a soft, fluty song interspersed with dry sounds, pleasant to the ear. In principle, it gives its cry when it is in flight and when it arrives in its nest. Where do swallows go after birth? Depending on the species, the female incubates alone or is relayed by the male. After 13 to 19 days of incubation, the eggs hatch. Swallows reach their adult weight at 13 or 14 days old, or 22 grams, and leave the nest at the age of 18 to 23 days, but they will still be fed by their parents for a good week. Who is the swallow's predator? The main predator of the house swallow is the hobby falcon. To fight against it, the swallows group together and utter an alarm cry. What do the swallows announce? Over the centuries, they have embellished numerous legends. Harbingers of spring, happy omens, good luck charms, symbols of freedom, loyalty, courage. So many qualities for these birds which should delight the owners of the places where they settle. Why do swallows fly in all directions? The cause and effect link is not obvious. Some think that if this bird flies low, it is to protect itself from the violence of the winds generated by the storm cloud. The reason is simpler than that. Swallows follow their only prey, the midge. During a storm, the insect is attracted to the ground. Why do swallows fly low before a storm? The swallow springs and flies low in threatening weather. Here are two French sayings which characterize behavioral aspects of the animal. Spring is associated with the fact that swallows arrive in France in March, but for low flight, the reason is less intuitive. The birds follow their prey. When a swallow flies low, the storm is not far away. This is a phrase that we commonly hear in France, and experience shows us that there is a semblance of truth in it. The cause and effect link is not obvious. Some think that if this bird flies low, it is to protect itself from the violence of the winds generated by the storm cloud. The reason is simpler than that. Swallows follow their only prey, the midge. During a storm, the insect is attracted to the ground. The swallow flies low to follow the gnat. The cumulonimbus, storm cloud, forms and a vertical circulation sets up. Upstream of the storm front, warm, humid air rises in altitude, cools, and condenses. Downstream, cold air circulates and brings precipitation. The storm system thus moves, more or less quickly depending on the winds. Under these weather conditions, the subsiding cold currents tend to trap flying insects close to the ground, where higher humidity and temperature guarantee the survival of small midges. The swallows, all they have to do is help themselves. In the event of a storm, it's a real feast that awaits them. We can still qualify this old French saying somewhat. The midges are stuck downstream of the storm cloud, which implies that for the human being observing the scene, the weather should have already deteriorated around him. In addition, the swallow's feast should not last for ages, since it is accompanied by sometimes very violent rains. These little birds. What is the swallow's lifestyle? Swallows are small migratory birds that make their nests under the roofs of houses, barns, or stables. As soon as the first cool weather comes, they fly to Africa where they will spend the whole winter warm. They will return in the spring after having traveled sometimes more than 10,000 kilometers. Swallows like to nest under overhanging eaves and barn frames and against a rough or concrete wall. Under this shelter, they make a spherical nest made of mud, clay, grass, feathers, and twigs they find nearby. When are baby swallows born? The first laying of 3 to 6 eggs takes place from the end of April to June. Incubation lasts 14 to 15 days. A second or even third laying may take place. In this case, nesting lasts until the end of August. Do swallows live in pairs? It is shiny blue-black above and reddish underneath and has a very forked tail. Females, however, are less colorful and have a shorter tail. These birds are generally monogamous, and the breeding pair often finds itself in the same site to nest each year. How to recognize a male and a female swallow? The adult female can be distinguished from the male by its shorter nets, and its plumage is a little less shiny.
I have two questions here for you. The first one is, what does a swallow does not make spring mean? Did the swallow come into existence by chance or by creation? I'm trying to know here if you believe in creation or evolution.